In the constantly changing world of fundability, the big question is this: how are entrepreneurs and real estate investors like us, ones who want to grow our businesses and who are tired of paying for really expensive alternative lending, how do we tap into the most inexpensive money available and do it without the hassle of typical borrowing? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Welcome to the Get Fundable podcast with your host, Merrill Chandler.
Welcome, everybody. Merrill Chandler here, your host of the Get Fundable podcast and the Get Fundable universe. Have I been knocking it out of the park with our guests lately? I'm telling you, we're now in for the grand slam, right? Bases are loaded. And in this episode, we've got Eric Dunavant. He was raised in West Texas, but I just gave the French pronunciation, Dunavant. And we're going to be talking about, along the theme that we've covered in the last couple of episodes, we're going to be talking about how to transition from a hobbyist, right? Even if you're no longer W-2, even if you're paying your bills with your hobby, it's a completely different jam to build a business like a business. So when we come back, Eric will be joining me, and we are going to do a deep dive on how to the landmines of preparing the transition to running this thing like a business. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Merrill Chandler here with the Get Fundable podcast, your host of the Get Fundable Nation. All right, let me tell you a little bit about Eric. I had the pleasure of meeting Eric at my board of advisors meeting. It's a quarterly meeting that I go to where individuals who've actually made businesses out of their hobbies are schooling me hardcore in how to level up and how to be better. So I met Eric, and there was an easy synergy between us because a similar perspective that we do all of this noise, and you guys know this about me. We do all of this crazy hardcore work and effort, and we muscle through our lives because of an idea of what our Z is, right? Our end game. By the way, I'm wearing my Z Tribe shirt, guys, because we're after our Z, that end game for our lives. But getting there and doing it the wrong way can create havoc with our lives, so that our children want nothing to do with us when we're ready to give them our legacy, right? Our spouse doesn't want anything to do with us, and we have to split all of our fortune of real estate properties. We have to split it all because we were assholes in the middle of the process. So here's Eric going to help us how not to be assholes to each other so that we have a legacy to pass on to children that love us and adore us rather than hate us, and the ways in which the landmines, because we're all about the landmines here at Get Fundable, how we can actually make it to the end like in one piece and with love, surrounded by loved ones who actually care about us. All right. So welcome, Eric. Eric, growing up, Eric's own family faced some of these exact things that we're going to be talking about. An unexpected tragedy literally created a massive loss in his family business, or in the family business, and depleted their wealth. Right now, this loss fueled Eric's own passion to empower other families and businesses to live a better story by being more intentional, right? By making choices that make a difference rather than like waking up and seeing what fire there is to put out. So I have gone through the first level with Eric's kind of recalibration evaluation process, and it was an amazing experience. And so Eric, welcome. I'm glad you're here with us, and I'm glad you're here to save our asses from all of the landmines that. And by the way, everything he says, I have never done. I am a pillar, a perfect example of how to run a business. Eric, welcome.
Well, thank you, Meryl. I'm excited to be here. Are we going to title we're going to title the episode "How Not to Be an Asshole"? Is that the title of the episode?
I think so. It's how not being an asshole will let your legacy live on.
I love that. Yeah, there we go. That's like the title of a book I need to write or something like that.
Straight up, because Eric, that the alphas are the ones who become entrepreneurs, right? The very nature of men and women and 16-year-old entrepreneurs are all alphas. And the one of the key features or characteristics of an alpha is that they run down the football field, sometimes without the football. And yet everybody in their lives chase them. They're like, yeah, run. And then we get down there and there's no touchdown. There's no win.
Nope.
We were all excited for a while. So please help us understand. You go through what are some of the big landmines that my tribe needs to at least be aware of, guys, at least be aware of.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's exactly what you described. I mean, the way that I like to word it is, most of the people running businesses are ready, fire, aim. Let's go after it. I've got a great idea. This is where we're going to go execute it. And then we'll figure out who our target audience is and if they're even interested in what we're selling. Right. I mean, but we get passionate about what we're going to go do and get excited about it. And so the biggest landmine I see, and I think this will come up when we talk a little bit about my own story, because my dad did this, is most business owners are visionaries. They got an incredible vision for what they want to do and where they want to go. And it's not going to fail, right? Because I have vision and there's no way this is going wrong. I believe. That's it. Right. I'm going to be successful no matter what. But what about all these things that go wrong? No, you don't understand. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to win. And the thing that I find is that a lot of times they're partnered up, spouse, partner, whatever, with someone. I kind of put them in the space I call faith, or so it's vision and faith. You got somebody who believes in you, but they only believe for so long, right? They've only got so much. And so one of the biggest mistakes we can kind of get into, and I want to talk about a little bit about how this affected me in my life, is
absolutely.
If you take a faith person far enough along without evidence or certainty, you become an asshole. Again, we're going to keep coming back to the thing.
But if you ever wondered what the definition from asshole was, Eric just gave it to you.
There you go. Being a visionary who takes a faith person far enough along without giving them certainty. There's your definition.
Yes.
So my dad, I grew up in West Texas. My dad's a veterinarian and he's got a small animal practice, but he's doing some large animals. And he had this vision for, man, if I expanded my practice and I bought into this new business, we built a brand new building that had all of this equipment for large animals and everything. And he's borrowing money and he's got this big vision of how he's going to hire other veterinarians that are going to come in and work for him. And he's thinking everything about the business. And my mom's going along with it. My 8th grade year, she fell and broke her arm. It's like, okay. And she went through some surgeries and stuff and ended up with a staph infection. Meryl, we buried my mother the day before I started my freshman year of high school.
Dude, I'm so sorry to hear that, man. That is brutal for that young boy.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. But now take a visionary business person who's thought nothing about protecting himself. All he's been doing is visionary, right? He's put no certainty underneath him. My dad didn't have any certainty. He didn't have the right health insurance. He didn't have life insurance on my mom. So he didn't have the right health insurance. All the bills start piling up. He didn't have all the right life insurance on my mom. He didn't have any business interruption and insurance. I mean, everything starts piling up. And without any certainty underneath him, what ends up happening to him, I like to say, is every morning he had to get up and make the choice. Am I going to be Mary Poppins or am I going to run my business today?
Right.
And I've got a younger sister who's 7 years younger than I am. So all the chaos of this starts to come in.
Single parent.
My dad filed bankruptcy 2 months before I graduated high school. It took 4 years to catch up with him. But if I really look at this, and I see this over and over with business owners, it's the visionary who thinks that nothing's ever going to go wrong. So I don't need to protect anything. I don't need to do anything. Who's running down the field, like you said, without the football, just ready, fire, aim, and is not building up the certainty. And we can talk a little bit about what some of those certainties look like. But that's the biggest mistake or the biggest pitfall that I see a lot of business owners put themselves into is they don't put certainty in place because I'm not going to fail. Why do I need all this? Why waste time with all this other stuff? I'm going to be okay.
Right. Where the essence of hope outweighs the like I love your use of the term certainty here, because certainty means that there is a plan if something goes sideways, much less if something goes south, right? You have a plan. So give us some examples of how my real estate and business entrepreneurs, what does certainty look like for them as small business hobbyists making the move over to being running it like a profession, like a professional business, and the certainty pillars that need to be there. My word, not his. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but what are those pillars of certainty that they need to be like a checklist or something that they can write down while they're walking, running, working out, and listening to this podcast?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first place I'm going to say is relational certainty, especially if you're running along with someone as a partner, right? You're so busy running the business or thinking about this idea or thinking about, especially if you haven't made the leap yet, right? Because what you've got is you've got this hobby that's taking all of your attention, and you've got maybe a day job that's taking all of your attention. And so does the business and your work become your new mistress versus your partner?
Yeah, and we become faithless whores to our to our business and to our vision, our passion project, right?
Absolutely. And so one of the things it sounds simple, but like a weekly date night, just getting together on a regular basis. And now here's the key: you can't talk about business.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot talk about
what he's saying. Listen to what he's saying, guys. We are in the business of creating a high quality of life. But is your high quality of life? But does that include or exclude your spouse, partner, children, etc.? Elaborate more on that, Eric, about how to date night. But what are the ways that we can build this, I don't know, equity in our relationship, just like we're trying to build equity in our business, right?
Yeah, I know. I mean, so here's the first thing. I say date night, but don't overcomplicate this, right? So it could be a quick trip for coffee. I'm going to tell you what, my wife and I, we've got 3 kids at home, getting older now. My youngest is now 14, but we've had to kind of figure out this rhythm of what works for us. I'll tell you what works for us. We go to breakfast every Wednesday morning. So today is Wednesday. We went to breakfast for 45 minutes this morning.
That's
right.
Awesome.
So it's not a date night, right? But it's carving out a very specific time to be together and talk about things that are not business related. So we bring
our screens with us, right? Our iPads, our iPhones. That's part of the date night.
Yeah, no. Actually. So I'm only. So let's slap Eric on the hand here, because my wife this morning was like, "Are you looking at something that is regarding to our discussion right now?" Yeah. I was like, "No, I'm not."
Are you looking at a picture of me on that phone? Because that's what this moment is about, right?
That's right. That's right. And so I think sometimes here's one thing that I've found, especially for alphas and for people who are really, really driven, because we're so visionary, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it over the top, and we're going to do it with excellence, right? So you hear the idea date night, get connected, and all of a sudden you're renting a limousine, you're getting a tux, right?
That's the alpha solution to date night, right? You're like, well, let's fly to San Francisco for dinner, right?
Go have coffee, right? Yeah. Take it down to its lowest common denominator. Make this super, super simple. That's my from a relational standpoint, make it easy so that it's something you can duplicate. And then kind of the second piece or element of this is put it on your calendar and make it unmovable, right? This is the most important appointment that I have this week. Urgent. You may think the most important appointment is with your real estate agent or with, your banker. Your most important appointment is with your partner who has faith in everything that you're doing.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. I say yes to this. By the way, guys, like I told you, I've never suffered from any of these maladies. I'm just here to I'm just here to serve you guys because I have never had that. I mean, literally, this is rug pulling out from underneath us, right? I've done every one of these things.
So you know how this works, right? The
Oh
greatest
my!
teachers are teaching on things that they're messing up on
That they got
over and over.
butchered by, and what literally are my greatest life lessons. I now get to share with my tribe because I failed miserably. I heard this one thing, and I'd like you to elaborate on it. I heard this one thing that said that when you're building your story about your life, to find, we all have avatars. Who's our perfect customer? Who's our perfect client? But this was a new thing that just wowed me because they said, pick a super powerful experience when you were a child, right? In the, I don't know, the 5 to 10-year-old age. And then in the teenage years, or, up to 21, another powerful, a powerful story about that was character building. And then something recent, because we've all been crafted to create a solution to an audience. Now that audience may be 5 people, it may be 500 million people, but our life experiences have been crafted to solve, to be the example, to at least illuminate the path for our tribe, right? And so tell me, how is your experience, this experience, how does what you grew up with and those devastating effects of your loss of your mom as a freshman, and then loss of financial stability with your dad by the time you're a senior, how did that create your mission and your awareness of these what might seem simple, but we don't do them, so they can't possibly be. We're either we're really dumb and don't remember simple things. But how did your these experiences help craft your awareness of the landmines that are out there and the solutions we need to make sure that we are successful?
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of twofold. And this is one of the things we talk about a whole lot at Paradiem, which is my company, which is that life happens at the intersection of family and finance. See, we like to think that finance or family and business, however you really want to say it, but most people want to try and compartmentalize things, and it doesn't happen there. It happens at the intersection. Right. So my dad and I, when the bankruptcy happened or when the loss happened, I mean, we've got a financial issue that's going on. So that then just shaped my mind towards this effort of what would have prevented that? What would have kept that from happening? What would have kept us not going through this pain? But on the other side of that was the relational damage that happened between me and my father during that time. I mean, we were disconnected. I had a lot of anger over, did you do this to us? Right. And a lot of bitterness and frustration. And so both of those things and that intersection and a desire, losing a family made me very passionate about having a family.
Right.
And so, and I will also tell you, I mean, my dad was business driven and business focused before my mom passed away. So he missed baseball games. He missed basketball games. So there was even this other longing desire of, when I have kids and when I do this, the relationship is just as important as the financial side of this. And so you take the pain of all of that coming together. And then it was a discovery that said on the other side of this, Meryl, that's really kind of interesting, is the world tells us that life is about the pursuit of family or the pursuit of money, but I don't ever really see anything talking about this intersection.
Right.
And what we began to find, and I'll let you talk, but what we began to find is that the opportunities and the outcomes began to increase as people looked at both sides of the coin. They used to began to see more.
It is the same coin, not two separate coins, right? It is the same coin, and sometimes we flip that coin, and it's business is what we got to pay attention to. But just like the odds, 50-ish% of the time, when the family goes tails up, we need to make sure that we're focusing on our family, right? With the same. I like that intersection of finance and family, because that goes in line with our community's focus. My focus and the voice that I speak to is what we call Z, right? Your end game. It's not your why. Your why is your motivation to get there, but it's one step beyond. It's Z. It is, what do you want the quality of your life to be today, this weekend, this summer, and throughout your life, and the choices we can make every day that support the quality of our lives, right? Support our Z. And what I'm hearing you say is that if we focus on where they converge, right? Where those, instead of being like this, they're actually, I'm going to get so wicked philosophical, guys. It's like a double helix of life crossing over each other again and again and again. DNA, people. Oh, yeah. All right.
I love it.
So, but it is that, it's the crossing point, because we can't compartmentalize, because you can't compartmentalize when it's 8:00 at night, you're still working on that final proposal to finish a deal, and your spouse or your children are saying, dinner's cold. That's the intersection. And it's not a pleasant intersection at that point. Right?
No. Well, and I think we were having a conversation about this offline. I'm going to bring this back up because this seems like the perfect point. There's so many times as an alpha business driven person that we think that what we need to do is, I can't go eat dinner because I've got this proposal to finish, right? I've got this proposal is the most important thing. And what we don't recognize is you can't drive a Ferrari redlined forever.
Right. Even if it was built for that red line, it wasn't built to be continually.
Correct. And so there's the story, the parable that's out there about the two guys chopping down trees in the forest, and they start at the beginning of the day, and one guy begins chopping down trees and he chops all day long. And the other guy stops every 20 minutes. And at the end of the day, the guy who stopped every 20 minutes chopped down more trees than the guy who went all day long. And the guy who went all day long comes to him, he's like, what is going on? How did you chop down more trees than I did? He goes, well, every 20 minutes I stopped and I sharpened my axe.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about the visionaries, but we have a hard time giving ourselves permission to sharpen our axe.
We do. I mean, we don't stop. In fact, everybody who's listening here is likely doing something. It's unlikely that anyone is sitting at the beach. Well, that's even another example. Some of you may be sitting at the beach, taking in sun, listening to podcasts, because you can't just enjoy the beach by yourself. You got to have me along for the ride. I mean, sometimes we don't check out. It's like, oh no, they've got a new episode, and I love the episode, so I need to be there, rather than spending time listening to our children, talking to. And remember, I've had all of these. I've had all these challenges, and I've stepped on every one of these landmines myself. All of you who know my backstory, I stepped on them I stepped on so much that the federal government had to take me aside and put me in a cell so I'd stop stepping on my landmines of my life. So give us an example of, you talked about the D's. Share with me and my crew about the 5 D's that are the result of not paying attention or not being prepared.
So the first thing that I always want to do, I mean, if you start talking about something like people like, oh my God, I feel guilty that I'm not doing all of this. So let me give you a couple of statistics just so people know they're in really good company, which is, so 75% of business owners, hobby or not, it's been surveyed, have zero plan on how they're going to exit their business. 3/4 of business owners don't know how they're getting out. The scary part about that is the statistics have been looked at, and 50% of business exits come when you least expect them. And then that leads us to the D's.
Okay,
so
fire away.
First is death. Now, most people go, okay, well, so that my death, I'm not going to be here, so what do I care? No. So my mom's death led to the failure of my dad's business.
Yes. A child's death could gut us to such a degree that we're even if we're still in business, we might not be enjoying it or productive. I mean, there's some misery that is associated not with just our own loss, but the loss of others around us, right?
And so a lot of people like to look at, why would I buy life insurance? Well, the purpose of buying life insurance is certainty. It's about creating a cushion if you need it. It's certainty insurance. It's not life insurance. It's certainty insurance, right?
Actually, that's I have never heard those two words put together before. Thank you, Eric Donovan. It's been a good day at Get Fundable Podcast. No, certainty insurance. I love that. I've never done that math before.
But all you're doing is buying certainty around if something goes wrong and somebody passes away or you pass away, the business can keep going. Is the vision for the business big enough to take the time to put that cushion in place?
Same with key man insurance, right?
Yes.
Key person insurance for the business to be able to somebody who's vital to the success of the business. If something goes sideways with them, you've got to be able to replace them and the resources to do so. So brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant.
The other thing that most people don't expect, but I'm trying to remember, I think is 1 in 5 people will experience a disability that takes them out of the workforce for more than 6 months during their lifetime.
I know I'm gluten-free and it sucks. No, just kidding. I'm sorry. I did not mean to make fun. My gluten intolerance is not meant to people who have real disabilities. So that just came to me, and I'm just gonna say what I'm thinking. But you're right. The disability factor. In fact, I just spoke with one of our compatriots, Jeremy from Board of Advisors, and he has a debilitating condition that he's literally fortifies himself every single day because it's like his skin and cells are on fire. And I'm like, he goes, well, there's one thing that's good. My resilience increases, and so now I'm a gift to my his tribe because he can help people understand basically living with pain, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
How do you deal with craziness like that? The loss of a limb, car accidents that paralyze. I mean, whoa.
Well, then you come back to, it's a different level of certainty insurance. So they sell disability insurance for the purpose, and you can buy it for, depending on how big your team is. Like inside of our business, we have disability, short-term and long-term disability. I mean, the most well-known, most people don't realize they're being peddled disability insurance every single day, but this is exactly what Geico is. Or what, I'm sorry, Aflac. With the duck. That's exactly what Aflac is. Aflac is just disability insurance. You're being peddled it every day and you laugh at it.
I did not. I was peddled that. I did not know that.
Yeah. So Aflac is disability insurance. And what they talk about is it provides you money if you can't work. Well, I mean, the most common example, it was one that we actually experienced, was a gentleman who was in a terrible car accident who for 6 months couldn't come in and work or run his business. He came back to work. He came back to business, but it was the disability insurance that kept the business and kept him going during that time.
Right. And here's the thing. I'm guilty of this, Eric. I'm the one saying, no, I lead a charmed life. Says the guy who's been divorced and gone to prison and a host of other things. I lead a charmed life and nothing's going to happen to me. So because I'm running down the football field. Hopefully right. I've now got the football, but I didn't used to. So some of these things, it's certainty. I love that, bro. I love that because I'm like life insurance, meh. But if I'm like certainty, now that reframes this entire conversation in how do I create certainty? Because I got a dozen employees, I got partners, I got people in my life that are counting on me, and if I go down, their lives suffer as a result of, like you said, death, divorce, disability, all that isn't cool. That isn't responsible for me in being, because I hold myself as a generous and as a benefactor to my team. And that's not okay. That's irresponsible on my part. So since Board of Advisors, guys, I'm now remedying all of this, right? Because because it's not okay anymore. And a funny thing for for the tribe here, you guys need to understand. For a while, we didn't have insurance, health insurance for our team, and I'm like, we can't afford it, can't afford it, can't afford it, can't afford it, can't afford it. Weird thing is, the second we offered it, we could afford it, we could afford it, we could afford it, we could.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? What just happened?
You put certainty in your business, you put certainty in your employees, and all of a sudden their ability to work inside of that realm of certainties. It's the other thing this is
brilliant.
The side.
Yes.
We think we can't afford things because we're looking at it from a limiting factor. And what we don't realize is the cost of leaving uncertainty inside of our businesses.
Yes. I'm listening to this podcast, guys, just like you are. So I'm taking home, here's my notebook. I'm taking home golden nuggets of thought here, because this is brilliant. My business, my life cannot afford uncertainty. It is not okay to leave anything uncertain.
Yeah. I mean, we all come at it backwards. Yeah. I mean, it's you know this, Merrill. I'm a big heart for generosity. Generosity is a big deal. And one of the things that a lot of people run into is, hey, I don't have any money to give. And it's almost exactly the same principle. Why don't you start by giving some money away first and see if you even miss it? And why don't you put some health insurance and some life insurance and some certainty into your life and see if you even miss it? Because what we think that by giving things away, by buying the insurance, or I'm missing out on something. And what we don't see is what we're investing in and what we're creating inside of that certainty, the foundation that then builds the vision of everyone around us.
All right, so let me play with that one for a second, because, guys, psychic drag is one of the pillars of our our tribe, right? That we want to eliminate psychic drag. But I just did the math of what you said, Eric, and here's what's fascinating: how do we when we create certainty, we eliminate psychic drag, which frees up energy inside of our creative genius to create more. But it may be so subtle that we don't notice it, just like you're saying. We may not notice it, but the absence of psychic drag, you guys know, the absence of psychic drag frees up energy, right? It's physics. You cannot remove psychic drag and have less freedom and less power and less opportunity. So what you're saying, Eric, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that by creating certainty in our business, by shoring up the areas that could be uncertain, we're freeing up mad quantities of psychic drag, and which leaves us now free to focus our energies in a positive, creative manner, rather than in the back. That low grade, dull background doubt is now out of our space, right?
Yeah, but it's not just in business. Go back to what we started with, right? Creating certainty inside of your home. What if the winning part of your proposal wasn't sitting there and crushing the proposal and grinding it out? What if the winning part of your proposal came as you were sitting at dinner with your family for 45 minutes, and you got an idea from one of your kids or something like, or your wife, your spouse, your partner, whoever, and you came back into the room and you actually ended up finishing the proposal an hour earlier than you would have otherwise, because you took the 45 minutes to get the space and stop the psychic drag you're talking about. Because it's not just financial, it's that intersection of family and finance. It's relational.
I so get this, guys. I'm listening to my own podcast, you guys, just so you know. I'm listening to my own podcast because this is freaking brilliant. This is the elimination, the creation of certainty. Now I'm going to my physics. The creation of certainty eliminates psychic drag. And I know in my life, over and over and over again, the more psychic drag I remove, the more freedom I now have to move everything forward. And my health insurance for my team was a perfect example of that. It's going to cost me less money to shore up all of the key man insurance, all those things. Well, what? I'm not going to have a home run, because now I get to focus. I don't have to worry about a thing, even if it's that low grade, dull background doubt. Brilliant, Eric. Freak.
Well, I mean, I don't know where your business owners are in their overall cycle, but I'll tell you a personal story, a personal experience. which was, if you're familiar with the principles of profit first,
Yes.
we were inside, and it's the exact same thing. So we were operating the business. I was constantly putting cash into the business to keep it going and keeping things running. And we got to a season where things were healthier, and I kept looking at the business. I'm like, well, things are healthier. Where's my opportunity to benefit from all the years that I was pouring cash into the business, and we couldn't find a space because the business always had money to spend on other things. And we had somebody come in and kind of coach us through this idea of profit first, and started creating distributions. Well, there's two things that happen. My wife, Angel, her faith component, her certainty went up when I could get her an extra distribution that was beyond our paycheck, that showed that all those years of her faith were paying off, that we were getting our money back.
Yes, absolutely. And then your partner is like, yes, keep going. I got you, brother. I got you. Right.
But not only that, it's the exact same thing. It's the health insurance thing. It's everything else. We did this right before COVID. And I took my distributions all last year, and we never hit a hiccup on it
during COVID. And
But it was the certainty of the business. It was the certainty for my wife. We underestimate what the certainty does. And we look at certainty like it's a cost. It's an investment.
I'm getting that. I'm so getting that right now because as I look at my relationship with my former wife, I look at my relationship with my kids. There's always psychic drag when we think or believe we should be doing something else and we don't, right? It's that ping. Some people call it guilt. That's not a productive word for me, but there's a drag. I look at aerodynamics of our lives, right? And there's total drag on us when we have doubt about what we're doing in this very moment. If we remove that doubt, then we are streamlined and we're aerodynamic in our lives, and the psychic drag is removed. Imagine our spouses, because it can happen. I've seen it happen. Imagine a spouse being like, "No, honey, I got the dishes. You go run back in there and finish that proposal," because their payoff, their buckets are full because of what we've done, right? That's what I hear you saying anyway.
Exactly. Versus what we create for ourselves. And we're like, I can't get out of here. So then the opposite of that is bitterness and anger builds up in the other room because you won't leave the office. And you think you're doing the right thing, and you're fostering, and by not building the certainty, you're fostering everything you don't want.
Yeah, toxicity.
Because here's the other side. When you don't, the most selfish thing you can do is not create certainty for your visionary. I mean, as a visionary, not for the person who has faith in you. That's the most selfish thing you can do.
And the least productive, because it's just going to bite you in the ass. And if you're an asshole, you don't want to be bitten as well, right? So
that's it.
I'm telling you, this is genius, Eric. Just sheer genius, because I know that, damn it, I'm just seeing the dominoes are falling. The dominoes are all falling for me. I see how I've increased certainty and removed psychic drag, and it's never not paid off. But my beliefs about other things, I need to do that. I'll get to that. Instead of charging towards getting my key man assurance for my partners and I, charging towards handling these things as though that certainty isn't, because one of my partners, it's him and his wife are both team members, been with me for years, and one is our chief strategist. Imagine having certainty about their partnership as a couple, and imagine them the certainty of enrolling new clients into our organization from a place of absolute no psychic drag, no loss of certainty, absolute clarity. Just imagine the freedom she now can use to serve our clients and serve, problem solve with the people who come to us, right? I'm just sitting here going, this is not rocket science. I have missed this Well, okay. I missed this.
Well, but here's the challenge. Here's the real challenge is, so I told this to a group I was teaching this last weekend. Most of the rest of the world, whatever their opinion is probably wrong.
The majority,
the masses are headed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, the best way to do this, what everyone tells us around the world is the best way to do this is to work harder and to do more. And what if actually the secret to what you want is doing less and creating more certainty?
Yeah. And then you are buoyed up by the certainty in your own space, in everybody that supports you space, all your team members, my employees. If my team had even more certainty, that's what the health insurance was. It was like, yeah, okay, whoa, all right, I feel safe. No matter what happens, I'm taken care of, right? And damn. And because I am a generous soul. I do believe giving. So it wasn't like we came out and did a split share contribution. It was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to give you. You're so important to me. You get full coverage, insurance without your costs, without contributing, right? Because if I'm going to do it, I want to do it well. But I didn't. Not once in making this decision did I include in the math that there would be more certainty in their personal lives feel safer to, quote, come to work every day. I feel safe. I feel loved. I feel valued because somebody is showing up for me, and now I feel safe. I'm all in. What do you need me to do, Meryl? And then we serve our clients and knock it out of the park for our people, right?
Absolutely.
So, damn. Well, Eric, this has been amazing. I've had some awesome guests. I've done some great solo events and episodes, but never once have I said I'm listening to my own podcast. So this has been insanely valuable for me personally. If anybody else listens to it, that's your business, guys. It was all by itself. This was a game changer for me because now I'm going to be building my business decision. How does this increase certainty with my loved ones, with my team, with my partners, and with my clients, right? With my tribe in the world. How can I increase certainty? And so the gift that you have been to me and my community is beyond the scope of that I thought we were going to be talking about. So it's like, ta-da! So,
exactly.
Eric, it has been a pleasure having you here with us.
It's been awesome.
Words? Any final swings for the fence?
Well, no. So I'll give you this, and you may ask me for this later. I'm going to go and give it to you right now. So my email is eric@paradiem.org, paradiem.org. So anybody that's listening, one of the things that I truly believe is that the greatest source of certainty sits inside of the work that you do with your family. And again, we talk about this intersection of family and finance, but the one thing that I find that most people struggle with is how do I interact better with my family? How do I do more with my family? And how do I be intentional around that? And maybe you're really
that crossover, right?
Yeah, that crossover. So, for anybody who wants some help, it doesn't mean that it's definitely not the be all end all, but we have what we call it's a family impact kit, and it's a free download. All you have to do is send me an email and put it to eric@paradiem.org. And all you even have to do is put Family Impact Kit in the signature. We know exactly what to do with that. We'll send you the information so that you can download that. It's about a day worth of activities. Don't have to all be done at once. Again, type A, don't overthink this. You don't have to take everybody on a huge vacation.
All right, we're going to take a week. Yeah.
But it's some simple activities of some things that you can do to create more certainty inside of your partner, your spouse, your kids. And I think you'll find it to be fantastic. And so I just would invite you to download that resource.
Excellent. That was our wrap up, right? Is I wanted them to be able to know how to contact you. It's Eric with a C, because I have a couple of Erics with a K in my life. So it's Eric with a C at Paradiem, PARADEM.
Yes.
.org. Exactly. .org.
.org.
Very good. .org.
.com will not get to me. So .org.
Eric, wow, that home run, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
so much for being here. All right. All right, tribe. What the hell? What do you think, man? This was awesome. I want to thank Eric for being here. And I want to just remind you that in every way that we can, every business decision we make, every family decision we make, how can we remove the psychic drag and create? Now I got a new language for all this that you're going to be hearing over and over, thanks to Eric. How can we create certainty in our loved ones, our business partners, our teams, and everybody in our lives, so that they not just have faith in us, but actually are the wind beneath our wings. They want us to succeed anymore, because every step you make in leveling up, you've created certainty in them to support you without all the noise and the bullshit we all run into when we just want them to believe. Let's give them the certainty that they deserve, so that they support us in the freedom and our vision that we deserve. This is Merrill Chandler, your host of the Get Fundable podcast and the Certainty Universe. You guys have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or good night.
Thank you for listening to the Get Fundable podcast. Please leave comments, because Merrill would love to read about your aha moments from this episode. And be sure to visit getfundable.com to read our blog, get important links, join our community, and much, much more, like ordering Merrill's tell-all book that is changing the world, The New F Word. And you got to tell your friends about this podcast, because we want them to get fundable too.